All right, everyone, welcome back into another Prize Picks and Underdog props video. Going to be touching on the top prop bets for the Sunday night showdown between the Chicago Bears and the LA Chargers. Let's go ahead and get into it. I do want to start this video with calling out something that I added in there. I found the ability to add in tackles and assists as well as kicking points, but I'm interested to see how this goes. This is something that I've been hesitant to do because there isn't as much data on it, but I think it could be worthwhile. So it's something I'm going to monitor, something I've added in there. I'm just excited to get that added in there. Now, looking at the game preview for this game, we are going to see it's getting up to 9.5 for the spread, maybe 10 as well. The Chargers, are they going to charger though? That's the biggest question, where they keep teams in the game. We'll see about that, but looking at it right now, guys, 46 for the over and under, so it is going to be a pretty appealing game, even though the Chicago Bears are playing a D2 undrafted quarterback as their starting quarterback. Now, Banjit has looked good. If you guys have followed this channel, you know that I've kind of been hyping up Banjit. I hyped him up last week. He had himself a pretty darn good game last week. 29 for 21, rushed the football for 3 attempts for 24 yards. Really looked good, and that offense really looked good with him at the helm. Like, to me, that is how the Chicago Bears wish Justin Fields would run the quarterback position. And the biggest thing is that Banjit is decisive. Now, he doesn't have the same arm strength, but he was much quicker at making decisions, which, if you're going to be an NFL quarterback, we know that that's kind of a big thing, right? Making quick but correct decisions. The thing I want to bring up is, although Banjit has looked good for a game and a half so far, teams will figure out how to stop said quarterback like that, okay? And he doesn't have the best arm strength. Looking at the Chargers side, we do know that we are waiting on news for Gerald Everett and Joshua Palmer. I will say, if Palmer sits, Davis, who's the receiver for them, would be someone I think we could be looking at for maybe total yards, because they do like to get him involved in end arounds and whatnot. Quintez Johnston would be someone that gets elevated as well. If Everett sits, we're looking at Parham Jr., and we're also looking at Stone Smart to be a little bit more involved. We won't get those props until game time. So the other piece of information that we are waiting on is kind of what's going to happen for the Chicago Bears running back room. And what I mean by that, guys, is that Deonta Foreman is there, and then Roschon Johnson is expected back. Roschon Johnson was the RB2 to start this season, and Foreman had been someone that had been a DNP for many of the weeks. Now, my issue that I'm having there is I think Foreman looks really good, but it also could just be one of those situations where he has fresh legs. We see this all the time, really, at the tail end of seasons, where a running back will come in, a backup running back will come in and look just super good. And I resort to calling it fresh legs, where these running backs that haven't been taking a beating the whole season come in and just look great. That may be the case with Foreman, but at the same time, this is going to be a good matchup for whichever running back it is. And we have seen them kind of do a 50-50 split. It was Foreman and Darrington Evans. And so what is going to happen there? Now, we are getting projections for Foreman on PrizePicks, so that would suggest that's probably going to be Foreman. And so let's look at the props that we are getting, and we are actually going to see that Foreman for under 10 for a fantasy score is one of the bigger props that is standing out. Now, the reason why that is, I would assume, is because of the uncertainty at the running back position. And let's say that the Chargers are up by 10 or 9.5. They're going to have to throw the football a little bit more. That would result in, and we got to see who's active. Like, if Travis Homer's active, that'd be interesting. Darrington Evans, if he is active, that's interesting. One of those two are going to be the third down back. I don't think it's going to be Foreman. I don't think it's going to be Johnson, although they're capable of catching passes out of the backfield. Darrington Evans and Travis Homer are much more fit for that role. And so that'd probably be what I'm looking at there instead. And I feel like we know who Foreman is. Like, throughout his career, we have seen it. He's basically a poor man's Derrick Henry, if you will. And I don't know, that might actually, nowadays, he might just be Derrick Henry nowadays. I'm not saying Derrick Henry's washed, but I am saying Foreman is impressive, I think, especially the last 2 weeks. Now, we know that he's not going to get too heavily involved in the passing game, and so that, I think, is why we are seeing the under fantasy points be favored there. Now, another one that we are seeing there is actually Darnell Mooney for under fantasy score. Now, part of the reason as to why I think Banjit has been better for this offense is because someone like Darnell Mooney, who had kind of been an afterthought because Fields just wasn't able to hit him on passes. It was super frustrating. Like that Washington game, Fields literally missed him on 4 straight big plays. Like, he would have crushed. But now with Banjit in there, we have seen Mooney get more targets, and they're accurate targets, and he's been much more involved in the offense. The whole offense has been much more involved, and it kind of seems like they're more invested. I don't know. It seems like the team is rallying behind him more, which is weird, right? But I can see why the under would be favored here. I just don't know if I exactly agree with it. Like, the average sportsbook line would have it set at 6.3. They don't think he's going to score a touchdown, which I agree with. Obviously, if he scores a touchdown, that'd be very rare, not likely, but I can see why that under would be favored. We see Tyson Banjit as well for under his fantasy score. That's one that's kind of standing out. But Cole Kmet, I want to touch on that one. Cole Kmet is someone that is playing heavy snaps. Now, he wasn't as involved last week. And I guess it wouldn't be shocking to see him get involved this week. The data likes it for the over. I do want to touch on just kind of this situation, though, for the Bears. Like, I don't mind the idea of betting Bagent with DJ Moore for over fantasy score. And I actually don't mind doing it the exact opposite as well, because either Bagent's going to play well against this Chargers defense, and I think he will have a good chance to get over 13.5. But how does he do that? Well, he probably does it at the helm of DJ Moore having himself a pretty good game again. Like, I think DJ Moore is going to get his targets regardless. And so if Bagent is horrible, I don't see DJ Morgan as over. If Bagent is good, I too see DJ Morgan as over. And so this is a way in which I think we could go ahead and stack this game, because I do think those two heavily correlate together. And then looking at it as well, like, I do kind of think Darnell Mooney's going to have a couple of design plays for him in terms of like being open. This Chargers defense, you can scheme plays open. And so I think we might see that with Mooney. It's just a weird stack and opportunity there, I think. Now looking at the Chargers, we'll switch it up, get into them. And real quickly, we did just get some more props coming in. So like Tyson Bagent, this is one where it is being heavily favored as a push for under passing touchdowns at 1. You can see Vegas is saying, sure, he has a good chance to throw a passing touchdown, but the likelihood of him throwing more than one passing touchdown is not that likely. And so that's where you see the correlation between fantasy score as well. So you could almost bet under passing touchdowns if you think he's not going to have a good fantasy score day. And then at the same front, you could also just bet over passing touchdowns with like a stack of over for Darnell Mooney and over for DJ Moore. Now we are going to see Darnell Mooney for over receptions at 2.5 is a good one. And I would agree with that. I actually like that one. That's one I think we should be betting on, because I do see him having a good game. And now Roschon Johnson, the data is kind of saying maybe he's going to be the third down back. Now, I don't personally agree with that, but we could see that being a potential option there. Tyler Scott's an interesting one as well, because we did see him play about 56% of his snaps, and I think that's a number that's going to continue to go up. And then another prop that I like is actually Tyson Bagent for over his rush yards at 11.5. Guys, he is very similar to Justin Fields. If we were getting Justin Fields at 11.5, we would be loading up on it, right? To me, that's kind of the exact same thing that we have here. So that's another good bet that I think we seemingly have here. And so now that we're getting more props, I actually think we could attack the Bears a little bit more. So Tyler Scott over receptions, Tyson Bagent rush yards, Darnell Mooney over receiving yards. And now we go ahead and get into the Chargers. Guys, we are still waiting on news for a lot of their pass catchers. So the ones that we are getting are players that are top end players whose production most likely won't change too much. I do want to call out, I don't know if we're even getting this prop. I was going to say Austin Eckler's like receptions prop, whatever it is. I do think that if Palmer is out, he's going to get targeted heavily. Thus, he's going to have a lot of reception. And so right now, like, sure, like we could just bet the over receiving yards at 31.5, just betting on Palmer being out. This is something that people I don't think have really caught on. It's like when Keenan Allen has been healthy, like Eckler's role in the passing game has been reduced. And I don't know, that's just something that people haven't caught on. It's just weird. But I think with Palmer not being there, who's another guy that can get open quickly, and that's the biggest thing. It's like Keenan Allen, you can get the ball too fast, whereas you take another second to make another read, and then you can dump it off to Austin Eckler. I think with Palmer not being there, we might actually see that a little bit more, but that is very much dependent on Palmer. We do see Justin Herbert for over rush yards. I don't like typically targeting those ones on like the main slate, but on the showdown slates, I think I'd be okay with that. Austin Eckler, 13 rushing attempts. Will he get there? Like, is he banged up or not? That's the question. And if they are playing with a lead, like they are 9-point favorites in this one plus, I would expect him to be able to get 13 rushing attempts in this game. So I do think that that's one we should be betting the over on as well. Rush yards, I don't know if I want touch. Josh Kelly, I don't know if I want touch. But although if it is kind of a game that could be a blowout, like you could kind of game script that way. So let's go ahead and get into my favorite bets for this game. And so now getting into the bet of the day for this game, I do think that these are the best bets that we are currently getting. I want to point out, I don't like the fact that I'm doing 2 rushing props for the quarterbacks. I don't know. That to me is too unpredictable. A lot of the times it's just a quarterback randomly pulling the ball and running on like a 3rd and long or something like that and just trying to get manageable yards back. I do think Bagent's going to have a couple of design runs. Now, he only rushed the ball 3 times last game, which is also a worry to me, but maybe if they're playing from behind, we'll see a little bit more soft coverage. Thus, he should be able to rush the football a little bit more. Darnell Mooney, I think, is going to continue to be involved. He should have had this over like 3 straight games. He's had it 2 straight games. And those 2 games have been games where Bagent's playing quarterback. Tyler Scott is seemingly getting more and more involved. If they're playing from behind again, we're going to have to see them throw the football a little bit more. So I think Scott playing 60% of the snaps or so, like he's kind of projected to get like he had last week. I like that. If they're playing with the lead, I'm very much game scripting here, guys, which if we're wrong about the game, as Vegas is wrong about the game, might not be the best slate. But we know that we kind of are forced to do that on the showdown slate. The worry is that if they are playing with the lead and too much of a lead, we actually might just see Josh Kelly do this. But we did see Austin Eckler get 14 rushing attempts last week, so that's another one that I like. This one, it feels like we're forcing in the most, but we are seeing a bigger discrepancy there between like underdog and also the average sportsbook line has this a little bit higher. And then this is a basketball prop. I wanted to make it a 6-slip bet. This is actually the best bet that we currently have on the slate. And I think this one's strange because Chet Holmgren just had a bunch of blocks, but I think this is very much due to his matchup against Denver, going against Jokic, and for what it's worth, like Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon as well. Like he could easily get into foul trouble in that game, or just because of his size, he might not play that much. Do remind you guys of the promo code that's currently going on the 9to5sports.com website. This is going to be available for new members only and for their first month only. So for your first month of the 9to5 membership, you get 50% off. So it's a $10 membership. You'll get it for $5. Use the promo code NBA to activate that promo code. It is available for one more day, so take advantage of that. That is going to be all for this video. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure to hit the notification bell as well, so you're not missing out on any great EV bets. If you guys have a play that's standing out to you, comment it, because we're all trying to win together. That's all I have for you guys for this slate. Let's have a good slate, and as always, let's keep cashing.